Good evening, everyone. I'm Martin Gosden. I'm the SWE branch co-chair. Welcome to our branch webinar event this evening. This evening, we're very pleased to welcome a whole load of speakers from Babcock, who will be sharing what they are doing to transform their project management capability, enhance their project delivery of their projects. Please also look out for the evaluation sheets survey that will come out a little bit later on today or tomorrow. Please let us know what you think about the event and particularly ideas for events in the future that we can actually meet your sort of personal professional development needs as best we're possibly able to as a committee of volunteers. Please submit any questions you have via the chat function on the site. Then Rob Allen will put these to the speakers in the question and answer session after the presentation is actually concluded. Bit of housekeeping APM information. The APM board, which you're not to be surprised, really said there's no physical events to be held until at least the September this year, which isn't that far away now. So we'll still have to see how we sort of move forward with that as sort of things progress with COVID and getting that under control and the vaccine rollout. In the meantime, we'll continue with the branch sort of SIG lunchtime and evening webinars. As a reminder of all the excellent resources that APM has to help you with your personal professional development, please go to the website and have a look at the APM learning packages, which are really good sort of online sort of e-learning packages, which are available free of charge to members, and also a lot of supporting resources, including on how to join as a chartered project professional. Prepare yourself for that. There's also the APM Hub, which is a discussion forum for members to sort of get in and engage with their with their peers. So sort of do get engaged, please. Right, with that, sort of moving on then to sort of next branch events. This is our last one of the summer. We'll sort of get back to you guys sort of on the 8th of September. And we're going to have a look at the Torbay Health Authority and their COVID response. We have Alan McCoy who will be talking to that particular subject. Then on the 7th of October, we've got one of our sort of popular virtual networking events, and that's going to be looking at empowering young project professionals. So that's something to look out for as well. And then 12th, 13th of October, we have our project management conference, which is a two-day event, or two mornings event, virtual at the moment still, because we didn't want to take the risk of them trying to sort of do a physical event at quite so soon as we are in the COVID sort of era. And that's be looking at the project team of the future. So do get engaged in that. It's available to book now, and it's free of charge. So please do get involved. Really exciting list of sort of presenters and speakers on that. Now, my very great pleasure to introduce our speakers for today. We have Mark Dearden, who's a Babcock Project Manager Director. Catherine Jones, who's a Babcock Nuclear Director of Project Management. James Craddock, Turner and Townsend, I believe is the delivery partner for the project. Elise Taylor, who's one of the graduate project managers, and Emily Armstrong, who's also a graduate manager. And finally, Matthew Hannaway, who's Babcock Nuclear Project Control. So, Mark, over to you, please. Thank you.
Thanks, Martin. Good evening, everybody. Really pleased to have the opportunity to talk to you this evening. And as Martin alluded to, what we're going to talk about for about the next 35 to 40 minutes is really give you a sense of the, I guess, cultural transformation that's underway within, originated in Babcock Nuclear, but we're now taking across the business. So before I get into that, I thought it would be worth just orientating you around what Babcock does. It's essentially split into four sectors, two of which are effectively service delivery businesses. One is aviation, and the second is land. Aviation basically deals with emergency medical response. So if there's an emergency helicopter in Europe, or a firefighting fixed wing or helicopter in northern Canada, it's probably a Babcock. Owned item, and then land services, anything from training in the Metropolitan Police and London Fire Brigade to the Ministry of Defence Army vehicles to rail. But what I really want to focus on tonight is the project delivery businesses, which really centre around the nuclear sector, which is where I currently work, and the marine sector. And the graphic you can see in front of you really portrays, I think, the diversity and the broad breadth of projects that and the scale of work that we're undertaking. And this kind of capability transformation is really aimed at delivering a step change in our performance improvement. So, top left, you've got the Queen Elizabeth carrier class that was built at Rosyth, where Babcock was in a joint venture with BAE Systems. Top right, we're a fundamental member of the Hinkley Point C 20 billion nuclear new build program. Bottom right is one of the Vanguard class submarines, and that's a key piece of work that we do at Devonport to give you a scale for the sort of projects that we do on the submarines, anything up to 4 to 5 years, with up to about 4 to 5 million man hours of refit work. And then bottom left is decommissioning of a nuclear reactor at Harwell, quite close actually to where I live. But that's synonymous with similar work that we do at Sellafield, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, and Dounreay, which is now a redundant nuclear test site facility. So that's a little bit about what Babcock does. And all I'm really going to do is just go through a couple more slides to lay the foundation and set a little bit more context, and then the team is going to take you through in a bit more detail the specific areas of the capability transformation that we're working on. So, Rob, if we flip to the next slide. So I guess the first question on the lips is, why are we doing this? Why bother? And I think it's really centers around three core driving forces, one being external, the second being internal, and the third being sort of recognition and taking due cognizance of societal and technological changes. So externally, and I'm sure all those who work in project management will recognise some of these. Anybody who's familiar with the Ministry of Defence or has interface and relationships with the Infrastructure Projects Authority will recognise kind of the increased demand and rigour that's now placed around project delivery. So you've got the two documents that are highlighted there, which are both the project delivery strategies for those two organisations, and generally sort of mirroring the upskilling and the professionalisation within project management. It's something that we need to keep pace with as an organisation. So that's the external drivers. Internally, and I guess this will equally ring true to some of you. What we're fundamentally trying to drive towards is consistent delivery. So much greater emphasis on risk management, project assurance, project governance, really to drive that outcome of consistent delivery to meet customers' expectations. And then thirdly, the societal aspects, which is around about and we've got Emily and Elsie talking in a little while to give their perspective on it. But, we're now employing the millennial generation and just, looking forward to future projects and all that means in terms of, developments in information technology, machine learning, artificial intelligence, move into 3D, 4D, 5D BIM in all sorts of aspects of our work. So when you package those all up together, it really sets the agenda for change and cultural transformation in the organisation. So next slide. So this is my last slide, sorry, and then I'm going to hand over, which is really about recognising that whilst there are, technical components of what we're doing, fundamentally, this is a cultural change program. And what I recognised early on, that I had to get the mandate of senior leadership within the organisation, else I just would have been trying to push water uphill. So like any change program, it needs endorsement from the top to then give you the kind of the permission to move forward. So very early days, it was fundamental for me to drive a kind of benchmarking and a status of where we were, get the chief executive's mandate, which is now goes right up to group level, select the team, and then move into delivery. And I wasn't, there was no way I was going to move into delivery mode before we had that CEO mandate, which we've absolutely got and absolutely called upon as we've moved through this cultural change program. So just wanted to set a little bit of context on those three slides, and I'm now going to hand over to James, who's going to talk a little bit about in a bit more detail about some of the benchmarking we did to kind of support that business case in the early days. So James, over to you.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, so my name is James Craddock. I'm an Associate Director and Senior Project Management Professional within Turner and Townsend. And on this transformation programme, I'm the Change Management Office Lead. So at the start of this transformation journey, the Babcock team was already diverse in terms of its background and the experience of all of the team members. And as a result of that, clearly they recognised the value in seeking out external best practice from elsewhere within the UK in different sectors, different organisations and different programmes. And as Marcus said, the importance of benchmarking against those other organisations and programmes. So what they did early on is take the decision to engage with a delivery partner to bring in what we call a critical friend, and also to be able to develop a solution which is broader than just the defence answer. So the upshot of all of that is that Babcock brought in ourselves, which was a joint venture of Costain, Mott MacDonald and Turner and Townsend. And you can see a lot of logos there. I'm assuming that everybody in the call recognises at least a few of those client organisations, contractor organisations and major programmes. And it's just a kind of flavour of the breadth of experience that the joint venture of these three organisations can bring to this programme. And the last point from me is just that the important thing the important decision that was made when bringing together the delivery partner and Babcock team was to make sure that we were embedded within the existing team and used to bolster the team as well. So where we bring that level of experience from all these other major programs, what we also do by being an embedded part of the team is create a product, create and refine a product which is specific to the needs and the culture of Babcock as an organisation. So that's all from me. I'm going to hand over now to Catherine to talk about the vision.
So good evening, everyone. My name is Catherine Jones. I'm Director of Project Management within the Babcock nuclear sector. So Mark has done the introduction to provide some of the context, and James has introduced some of the benchmarking that we did and the external references we sought. So as a team, we've taken this and collectively, Babcock, working with our delivery partner, Cosmot, we've created a vision of what we want to deliver in our transformation programme, and it's to create and enable a leading project delivery organisation in Babcock that integrates people, ways of working and technology to really successfully deliver predictable outcomes in our projects. To do that, we've established 5 key work streams, and they're shown in this illustration here, around people, organisation, process, information and technology. And we also identified the outcomes that we wanted to see. We want to create trained professionals who are diverse and at the leading edge of the project profession. We want to stand up increased governance and assurance to build confidence and certainty of delivery, and do that through integrated project delivery teams. We want to create a fit for purpose delivery framework and build that alongside integrated project control systems that provide improved data and real-time single version of the truth information to support our projects in better articulating and reporting on the progress of their projects. And our target overall is we kicked this off in earnest in April 21, and within 2 years we want to get us to a P3M3 maturity level 3 and moving towards level 5. So we go to the next slide, Rob. So what I talked there about 5 different work streams. I'm really interested to ask from the audience, if you were to say those 5, what do you think is the most important to create that world-class leading project delivery capability? So if you can just able to go on to the Slido and perhaps vote. Interesting there, we're getting obviously a unanimous version on people, and we're coming up with organisation and process. We're going to talk to each of these areas So it's really interesting. We have much debate about the importance each of these plays, and actually I hope what you'll hear from us now as we carry on to expand on these, that I think each have a part to play in delivering this. So if I move on to our people strategy, take the first one that we've got a resounding vote for. So we're in our people work stream, and we're focused on building a capability. And the pictures here, you see are just some of the project professionals from across our business who are part of that. But we have challenges. We've got an ageing demographic, and currently I'd offer limited breadth in diversity and agenda across our population, but we're really working to change that. So how are we going about it? To champion the diversity, we're moving away from tradition. We're moving away from the requirement for a background in engineering, a degree in engineering, for example, or even a background in nuclear. And we're bringing in entrants into our business from different sectors and backgrounds, and we're providing more agile working practices to support that. And if I just look at Gemma, who's in the bottom right-hand corner there, Gemma's just come off our project management degree scheme, and she came to us with a degree in pharmaceutical and is now leading on one of our submarine programs. We're also investing in organic growth. We've established a strong early career scheme, and you're going to hear more about that shortly. And we're also building career frameworks that are supported by investment and in qualifications and training. And that's championed by Stacey, who you'll see in the centre of that grid. Stacey Bishop, who you may have seen recently through APM Media and LinkedIn, has become the youngest person to achieve CHPP. And Stacey works within our Defence Technologies business in Babcock. We're also searching out talent to be catalysts for change outside of traditional nuclear, as I say, but then bringing them in and asking them to help coach and develop the teams that we have now, and lead by example, transferring knowledge and bringing it across from other sectors. An example of that could be John Oliver in the bottom left-hand corner. John, a recognised project leader in UK PLC, previously delivered Heathrow Terminal 5, had an extensive career in oil and gas, and only recently came into nuclear, joining Babcock last year from a previous exec position in Sellafield. We're also creating, you'll hear more about how we're creating common ways of working, and the real aim of that is to bring allow people to move around our business. It's a really diverse portfolio that we've got, but we want to have a way that we work be consistent, so that we can move people from decommissioning projects to submarines projects to new build, and just make sure that everyone has a consistent language and approach to the way that they deliver projects in those areas. And don't make it exclusive. Allow entrants from our other functions. So in the middle right hand side we have Seb, who previously really successful engineering manager on one of our flagship projects, but he wanted a new challenge. He's moved into a programme role leading one of our defence builds in our civil nuclear business. And finally, we're supporting locally as well. So geographically, Babcock's spread around the UK and further afield, but we're also investing in our local community. So within the Southwest, within Plymouth, we're launching the first project management degree apprenticeship, working with Plymouth University, and that's going to be not only for Babcock staff to go through and achieve that qualification, but open for whole of the region and UK, that our supply chain can draw on, and collectively within the Southwest we can grow the project's capability. So if we go to the next slide, please. To further build on some of these aspects of how we're making it happen. Career pathways. We've identified career pathways covering all of the disciplines associated with project management and project controls you would expect. Project, programme, portfolio, scheduling, risk, cost, estimating, to name a few. And we've brought that together in a career as a project and project management controls family. We've established communities of practice for each discipline, and we've built in a career framework that helps people understand the roles that they play within the team, links it to the competences that they need, and a real map of how you can progress and grow within the project profession. From a technical competency point of view, our North Star is APM, And we've taken the APM competency framework, the 27, but we've expanded it for our project controls disciplines, integrating further competencies from ACOS-E and IOM, for example. And then also in terms of developing our people, the learning and development model is very much aligned to the 70-20-10 rule. So 70% has got to be on the job experience. You can't get away from the value that you get from doing the job, getting the experience. But also supplement that with 20% from coaching, continued professional development, mentoring, and then just 10% from qualifications. But we are going down a route of mandated qualifications, including the suite of APM quals available, and also CHPP, as well supported by commercial qualifications and risk, just to really give our project professionals and our project teams that solid foundation and understanding, as well as supported by the experience. So having talked about our people agenda, I referred to the need to grow organically and the early careers work, so I'll now hand you over to Elsie and Emily, who are going to talk more specifically on this area.
Thank you, Catherine. Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Emily and this is Elsie, and we are currently on the Project Management Graduate Scheme with Babcock. And we would like to share with you a bit of an overview about our scheme, which we are both really proud to have been a part of. Across the group, we recognise the need to invest in our project management future. So building on similar schemes across our business, the Project Management Graduate Scheme started in Devonport in 2018. The scheme is structured over 2 years, and so graduates have the opportunity to experience the whole of the project life cycle in its various stages and work in different environments across the business. As well as gaining experience in various placements across the business, we are also given opportunities to get involved in extracurricular activities and to develop our softer skills and to shape the 2-year scheme to what we would like to get out of it and our particular interests. So there really isn't a just one size fits all for this scheme. We really are kind of given ownership so that we can tailor it to what we would like to get out of it. For example, this webinar is not part of my formal objectives, but it's a really good opportunity, not one that I thought I would get this early into my project management career. So a bit nerve-wracking, but very exciting. And project management graduates are also encouraged to take part in STEM and university engagement initiatives. And we are also offered the opportunity to take part in the APM Challenge and to join networks such as the Pride in Babcock Network, the Young Professionals Network, amongst others. Alongside these soft skills, we're also given the time and the resources to complete our APM qualifications whilst on the scheme. Me personally, I've passed my PFQ and I'll be studying for the PMQ later this year. I'll now pass you over to Elsie, who will tell you a little bit more about our scheme.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Elsie. So I'm also on the Project Management Graduate Scheme. So like Emily said, we're offered a lot of different opportunities. These aren't just limited to Devonport where we're based. So we've often, in the past, graduates have been offered opportunities to travel to places like Oman and Canada. Due to COVID, obviously we haven't been able to do that this year. Hopefully in the future we'll still be able to do so. As well as this, we're offered opportunities to do group-wide placements, so getting a real good different view of the business, and they kind of offer travel around the UK. We also offer secondments to other companies in the industry and extended placements of 6 months or more. This isn't also limited to the graduate scheme, so after the 2 years you move into your role of responsibility. And one of our grads has been put into the secondment for this. So like Emily said, it provides us with a really good opportunity to expand our experience in many ways and also work on complex projects in ways that interest us personally. If we can go to the next slide, please. So carrying on from some of the things that Catherine mentioned, Babcock are trying to make our community more diverse. So some of the figures on the screen are from the Project Management Graduate Scheme. So the scheme is open to any degree background, so alongside traditional entry disciplines like project management degrees or engineering degrees. Some of the graduates have also got degrees in things like fine art, sports, events management, so it's very varied. And as well, the ages are very varied for the grads as well. Not all of us are just straight out from uni, so people might have different experiences in between that. And you can see as well that the gender split is pretty good, I think, so 40 to 60% compared to kind of like the industry that we're in. It shows that Babcock are really investing in reducing that split. Hopefully it will continue to grow. I'll pass back now.
Thank you, team. We're really proud of our graduates and what they achieve over their 2 year of the scheme, and they come out really capable project professionals, ready to take on our challenges within our business. And it's really great to see them come in with their, at the start and just kind of grow over that 2 years. So yeah, really proud of what they do and who they've become. But moving away from our people kind of work stream to some of the other areas that I talked about earlier. So our ways of working is on the next slide. And under the banner of ways of working, there were 2 key work streams that I talked about, process and organisation. For processes, we're writing a new project management delivery framework that covers the full linear life cycle. We use a linear life cycle typically within Babcock. And what we're doing within that framework is articulating how to set up, deliver and hand over projects and programs throughout the whole life cycle of a project. Now, this existed across the business, but it was very inconsistent in terms of there wasn't one way of working that covered the whole of the group. Each of our different product areas had tailored it for their requirements, and there were perhaps gaps within that. So what we're doing is bringing that all together and setting the overarching framework, but also making sure that it's really aligned to and recognising the other interfaces that are crucial to successful project delivery, including HSE, safety, quality, commercial and finance. Let's go to the next slide. Some of the key aspects in that framework and the operating model. The first one is about categorising our projects, and we do that to ensure that we're proportionate in the way we apply the framework, proportionate in the governance that we apply, the processes that are followed, and also proportionate and aligning depending on the complexity and the size of the project. We align that to the right level of project professional. So first in it is categorisation. Then key to the new operating model, I say we're bringing together diverse aspects of our portfolio, different products, different life cycles, but we want to bring them all to be in a common life cycle, which although they might have different outputs, they have the same gated approach to governance and assurance and strong principles that all projects will deliver as they progress through. And all of this is delivered by truly integrated multidisciplinary teams. Traditionally, parts of our business have grown from different areas such as production or been very strong consultancy businesses or engineering. But what we're recognising now to successfully deliver is you need to bring that as an integrated team. And that they have a shared mission led by the project manager. But at the table, you have your project controls, you have your engineering, you have your commercial, safety, quality, construction, etc., all working together to deliver that project. To cover our final work stream, I'm going to hand over to Matt now, who's going to talk about the tools and technology and how we approach that through integrated project controls.
Thanks, Catherine. Hi there, good evening, everyone. My name is Matt Hanaway, and I'm part of the Central Projects team responsible for leading on the project controls and systems work streams. So what I quickly wanted to talk through was really our framework that we're looking to implement for integrated project controls, and really the kind of philosophy that we're looking to build in, which very much builds on a number of the messages that we've heard previously around building a culture, having and enabling capable people to perform their roles. So the cube diagram really represents or visualizes our integrated project controls framework, and within that I kind of stress the integrated part of it. So we look to kind of integrate project controls within the project management and delivery framework, as Catherine articulated a couple of slides previously. We're looking to make sure that our project controls processes are integrated across the full project controls lifecycle. So starting from setting the baseline, managing, maintaining it, and through to closeout. Crucially, making sure that all the different disciplines which contributes to the project controls processes are integrated within themselves, and then integrate into kind of wider delivery functions. So really, the face here talks to the integrated processes, and the top is the disciplines within it. Crucially, for me, the framework and our approach to integrated project controls is focused on people. It's having capable people who can apply the processes in an efficient and repeatable and consistent way. So personally, I only believe in writing things down if it enables people to operate efficiently and consistently. Having governance, stakeholder communications there to enable that, to enable the performance discussions and performance decisions to be made, and fundamentally having an information system, data model and architecture that enables that efficient operation, which I'll go to in a second on the next slide. As Catherine introduced, a big part of our framework is about making sure that we've got the appropriate and proportional application, and that applies equally to project controls, and that's kind of duly how we as Babcock apply and operate those processes and those disciplines, as well as how we cascade that down to our supply chain, so that the component parts of our integrated baseline are consistently applied. Next slide, please. So as I kind of introduced on the last slide, having that integrated system architecture and data model as that enabling foundation for our framework. So the top diagram really just represents some of our baseline systems, and big systems that I'm sure I've got experience of using or have heard of in terms of Oracle P6, Risk Hive, Deltek Cobra, and SAP, with Power BI in the middle. Our data and technology workstream has been focused on taking the existing systems that we have, making sure that they're optimized, making sure that they're consistently applied, as well as introducing new systems. So Risk Hive is a new system implementation for our business, and within that system implementation, we're looking to fully use the system capability that Risk Hive has. So we're looking to expand Risk Hive into a delivery hive. So bringing together kind of common applications and typical registers like assumptions, risks, trends, changes into a single delivery platform. So we're looking to kind of make the best of the systems that we have, make sure there's a consistent application as well as bring in some of the latest and newly developed systems. What I get really excited about in this diagram, and the kind of team members on the call will probably laugh at this point, is I get really excited by the arrows. As kind of silly as it sounds, systems in isolation do nothing for me. Having integrated systems between best practice systems in their own right is where I get excited, and I think that is the differentiation of what we're trying to do at the moment, making sure all of our systems integrate and interface with each other, reduce manual handling and data manipulation, get people out of spreadsheets, get people's heads up so they can start using the information. Just at the bottom part of the slide is part of our data drumbeat that we're bringing in is having kind of flows around what I would call system source on demand data. So if people want to go in and interrogate, that is easily produced and easily digestible from our core systems. but moving forward into having dynamic dashboards. So dynamic dashboards where if you want to talk about a specific, an individual discipline, you can get different discipline lenses on that, as well as then moving into what I found really useful in terms of performance dashboards. So bringing together the different aspects of performance and the different dimensions into a single place. So ultimately you can have those performance discussions. You can really bring to life the essence of project control in terms of tracking performance, looking ahead and providing management insight. And then kind of finishing up with our static reports, really key for us in terms of providing robust reporting to our external stakeholders as well as our internal stakeholders, building that confidence as Mark introduced as part of our mission on delivery performance. So just a kind of high level kind of overview of our philosophy and strategy around integrated project controls and our tools and systems strategy. So with that, I think I'll hand back to Mark, who can do some closing remarks and invite any questions.
Thanks, Matt. Fantastic. So we've covered a lot of ground there, just both in terms of the breadth of the projects that we cover and sort of the scale of the cultural and technical transformation that we're on with. Sincere thanks to all my team for presenting. I think I would just echo what Catherine says. It makes me immensely proud to see the likes of Elsie and Emily standing up. They are two individuals only in their first year of the project management scheme, and knocking it out of the park, way above capability that I had when I was their age. So it really fills me with a sense of pride and joy and optimism for the future, in terms of increasing diversity in all of that aspects. So just fantastic to see, and well done, ladies, just great. It was also pleasing to see that I think the content of the presentation that we focused on was mirrored in your interests. So that was, I hope we hit some relevant buttons there. And we were also really conscious to try and provide enough time sort of at the end of the presentation to invite questions, because it's really difficult to hit all the buttons of interest of the audience. So with no further ado, I will stop talking. So I'm going to divert the questions around the audience, around the presenters, and hopefully we can get a good question to everybody. So Rob, I think back to you, as you're going to be throwing the questions at me, and then I'll hand them out and probably answer one or two myself.
Excellent. Thank you, Mark, and thank you everyone else for presenting this evening. We've had some lovely comments come through saying thank you from everyone who's in attendance. So I'll move on to the questions. Bruce has asked, how did you demonstrate the value of PJM in delivering successful outcomes to the CEO/SRO?
I'll take that one to start with, and then I'll ask Catherine just to supplement with anything further that I may miss. So it's a great question, and one that is not easily answered. And we've stress tested it a lot with other organisations, but at the end of the day, given the funding for this transformation has actually come through the mod, we had, at the end of the day, had to get down to a very granular level. So we started off more in terms of context and kind of vision, goals and objectives. So things like, reducing manpower, improving efficiency, driving consistency in delivery. So those are really sort of high level metrics. But actually when it came down to so that was to get the internal approval, but that was only step one. To actually then get approvals for funding through the Ministry of Defence, we had to get down to a very granular level. So actually specifying numbers of people that we would, through more efficient ways of working, take out of the organisation, improvements and the benefits that we would see in terms of reduction in terms of, if you take the submarine outage, how many weeks and days we were going to take out of that, and that's what we will be measured against. So kind of two tiers really, one strategic and then very granular. So Catherine, is there anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think the benefits case that we're having to build, it's very live. So we've identified initially some benefits for one area of the business, and we're piloting in the autumn on that. But we're constantly scanning to identify where other areas improvements can apply. And as Mark says, there are some quantitative ones where we've said, in terms of reducing headcount, that's more about actually being able to move that workforce. We're training and upskilling that workforce and moving them on to other project areas, because actually our portfolio is growing. Over the next 50 years, we're going from single stream delivery of some of our submarine refits to double stream. So we have a large resourcing need. So we're going to expect, broaden that resource out by training and developing them. So some of it is qualitative, as I say. It's about how do you measure when you train someone on what the return is. Others is very down to the savings we're going to make, because we're going to reduce the number of reports we write in a month. We're going to reduce the reliance on some of external support that we need where we have capability gaps. We are going to we've put some metrics around time saved against project delivery and cost and duration of some of our projects. But I think overall, continuing to scan all the time for additional benefits that the programme will bring.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Bruce has already replied to say thank you, Mark and Catherine. So Bruce, thank you for the question. Ian has asked a follow-on question linked to Bruce's question. Are you doing any work to review and change your process approach to facilitate this journey?
Shall I go with that? So very much, yeah. The process. So I think I alluded to the fact that we're already a projects business, and we deliver projects. So would that be civil nuclear projects or submarines, and they all did have their own. They have their own business management systems and processes and procedures. But what we're trying to do is bring that together and look at it across a consistent way across our Babcock. How do we want to deliver projects? And we're bringing best practice in as well. So part of the message you got from Matt was about integrated project controls. And I think if I was to look into some parts of the business, we did project controls, and we did it in terms of scheduling and risk and cost, but we weren't necessarily bringing that integrated approach. So what we're doing is really looking at the whole life cycle and covering it all with new processes, and then each of the business units are going to take that and look at how they adopt that for their product or their business model.
I'd supplement that just with so how are we keeping in kind of phase and tune with the business? So clearly we work in the central projects function. We are the central projects team. So what we've established is a steering committee with kind of all the key delivery directors across the business, where we stress test. So we're now 18 months into this journey, but as we're bringing new ideas, concepts out, we absolutely stress test those with the business directors, the senior program directors and delivery directors. And if needs, I take really significant decisions to the board. So, for example, one decision I'm taking next week is one thing, and it will be a first for Babcock. It'll be a first for Babcock, which will be the establishment of mandatory qualifications. So, for example, to be a senior in project management, you must have chartered project professional status, no questions. So we're keeping that check-in with the business at all times, just to make sure there's that tension, and that we are enabling and supporting delivery, not creating a vision in our own image and then deviating from what the business really needs. So hopefully that answers the question.
Excellent, thank you both. Stephen's posted a question that you can, I'm sure, direct to one of your fellow work colleagues. What are the advantages of employing graduates from non-engineering/management disciplines?
So I've got a view, but I don't think either Catherine and I should answer that one. I'll maybe supplement it, but let's Elsie and Emily give us their views on that.
Thank you, Stephen. So advantages for me personally are I wouldn't have been employed by Babcock if they only took the project management and engineering grads. I've got a background in psychology. I graduated in 2017, worked as a mental health counsellor for 3 years before deciding that I thought I fancied a bit of a change. There's 30 of us in mine and Elsie's cohort, and we've all got completely different backgrounds. Sports, events management, pharmaceuticals, loads and loads of different backgrounds. And it just means that you've got this group of people who have all got different skills and different strengths, different opinions, and it just means that you've got a more well-rounded view. You can learn from each other, learn from each other's experience and backgrounds, and it's just that diverse workforce, I think, and getting different ways of thinking and best practice from all these different areas.
Yeah, I'd agree with what Emily said. It's really good to work with people that have come from different backgrounds. Everyone thinks about things in different ways, so you can really collaborate to get some good outcomes. Yeah, it's really nice to be around lots of different people.
So I'll just maybe top and tail it. So we have some huge challenges like a lot of these remote sites. Plymouth and Devonport is a remote site. Rosyth is a remote site. But one thing that's very close to sort of my heart and Catherine's heart is to get on to improve the diversity of the organisation. So what was important to us and what we stepped back and looked hard at was what we want is transferable skills, and skills like numeracy, analytical ability, the ability to interpret data, confidence, which you're getting in spades from Elsie and Emily tonight, to be able to stand up and deliver a convincing case, because at the end of the day, project leadership is about leadership. So they're the sort of traits and qualities that we've looked for in the future population, in our future population, and to move away. Catherine's a mechanic, I'm a civil engineer, but we've deliberately moved away from that because a lot of degrees do offer those analytical thinking skills: English, history, music, geography. That they're all up there, but not your traditional STEM subjects. So we've just opened the box a little bit broader. But the journey doesn't end. Whilst we've done well on kind of diversity in terms of gender, we've got massive challenge in terms of ethnic diversity, because we look at the population of Plymouth, there isn't a huge BAME community. So we the journey doesn't end, and we have to keep challenging ourselves to different ways to bring people into the organisation. STEM returners, mature entrants, direct entrants, all of the above, but just really looking for those, what's really important to be a successful project leader, and then focus on those skills.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to build on, the numeracy and literacy is important to us, but also, and we don't shy our graduates away from understanding the engineering. We encourage them to go and, a key skill that we're looking for is that they go and ask questions. Why is that? What's the problem? Try and find out, be inquisitive. And from that, you can probably you will be successful being a project leader, because it's not actually about solving the technical for the engineering. We have our engineering colleagues who are fantastic at doing that, but you have to be able to ask the right questions and provide the leadership and direction for those teams. So that's kind of more important to us.
Excellent, thank you all. I've just seen a question coming from David while we've got Emily and Elsie up. What's the best piece of advice you would give to a student looking to get into project management?
It's a great question.
Really good question.
I'd probably say do your research and have a look around and see what type of things it could offer you. Personally, I thought it was really good industry to get into, because it offers you a chance to do a different thing every day. It's so broad, and you can move into all different types of industries, whatever suits you at the time as well. And obviously, looking on the APM, you can see loads of case studies and things like that. that's kind of where I started with my journey.
Yeah, I would agree with Elsie. I'd say research and speak to people. We're really fortunate nowadays. You know, it's not difficult to find someone who is, say, a project management graduate on LinkedIn, things like that. I think it's quite important to make use of the resources that we are given. So I personally reached out to someone on LinkedIn when I saw the project management graduate scheme at Babcock, and I thought, you know, this is completely different from what I've done before. I don't know if this is something that would suit me. So just ask all the questions, do a bit of research, speak to different people, and then also look at your experience and think, how would this apply to project management? Because it's very likely that it does. I'm really surprised that loads of what I've done in, you know, my previous career actually is really applicable and transferable. So yeah, just look at the bigger picture as well and make use of research and speaking to people.
Excellent. Thank you both. Thank you for sharing. I'll move on to a question linked to data, if I could. So Robert has asked, do you use /load historical project data? And if so, did you have any data quality or other data issues?
There's only one person that can answer this question, and that's you, Mr. Hannaway.
I was hoping it wouldn't go to me, but yeah, it kind of is my area. So data quality is for me, it's always there. You know, it's always an issue, and it's always something that we need to focus on. So a big part of what the kind of framework's about is setting those consistent quality standards, so that, you know, for example, you know, if we were importing different supplier schedules, then at least we can do it into the same configuration of P6. We can do the same level of checking and validation and assurance. So yeah, we are looking to kind of set those consistency standards to help us get past data quality issues. Because one of the things that I'm, you know, particularly kind of vocal about is, if we have project controls professionals, then let's give them the opportunity to have their heads up rather than their heads down, kind of going through manually data quality issues. The kind of archiving of historical data, it is a big part of our data strategy to ensure that we are kind of tracking and trending, as well as learning from experience, building up norms to kind of inform future estimates, future iterations, future risk assessments. So it's a big part of, so the data management is a big consideration in our overall architecture and strategy. You know, our ability to build up trends so that we can start to do, you know, predictions, you know, using things like historical performance and EBM to then give program directors kind of ranges of outcomes and direct attention. But yeah, data quality is very much in our minds when we are trying to set these consistent standards, and when we are looking at having consistent configurations for our software applications like P6, like Retiger, etc. It does also kind of give us the opportunity as well, you know, through our supplier works information to set out and provide those consistent templates. So, you know, to taking quite a lot of the effort and energy about, you know, having alignment throughout the supply chain, the same way we're doing with our clients, making sure we're meeting their requirements, their data quality standards, and flowing that right the way down.
Thanks, Matt.
Excellent. Thank you, Matthew. Moving on to a question from Charlotte, who says, given the work that you're doing, how long do you think it will take for the business to be fully mature in project management?
This is a great question. I think the simple answer is the journey never continues. So I previously worked in an organisation that went through a very similar process, and from my experience, it was just a continual journey of evolution and maturity, and I guess ultimately driving to a position where projects were consistently delivered. So my background was originally civil engineering, then spent a long time in upstream oil and gas, then moved into new build, and now with Babcock. So it was in the oil and gas sector, you know, where you're dealing with hundreds of million, sometimes $billion projects, and you just can't afford those to go wrong. And the organisation I work for, you know, aspired to be a good as good as we held, you know, in highest regard ExxonMobil and Shell, and we ultimately got there. Where we are on our journey is, you know, we're at the start, as Catherine alluded to. Babcock has historically acquired its business in a sort of piecemeal basis, so we're in the process of bringing together the piece of Lego, start the journey, and then go forward. The first milestone we want to hit is P3M3 by March 2023, but that is just one red line in the sand of what would need to be a continuing evolution. So the long answer is, you know, it will just continue, and I can see, you know, when we get to 2023, okay, there'll be the next strategy to get to level 4, and then what does the strategy look like to get to level 5? It's a bit like safety performance, really. The journey never continues. You can never do enough. You can always improve. And with the external challenges in terms of, you know, some of the points I covered at the start around technology, population, demographics, just make it a really exciting mix and, you know, an environment to work in. But short term, P3M3 March 2023, but it will continue for sure. After then, I can see easily 5-10 years.
Excellent. Thank you, Mark. James has asked a question, and I hope this follows on nicely. How have you measured the effectiveness of the changes implemented to date?
So I'll have a go. I'll start with this one, and then I'll hand over to Catherine. So once the team was assembled, we've made in the short term, some pretty significant interventions as a central projects team, by just kind of stepping in with and working with the projects teams. You know, in terms of, I guess significant things are rebaseline a couple of very material projects. I can't get specific, but I'll talk in generic terms just because security issues. So we've helped rebaseline a couple of very material, highly visible projects. We've fundamentally inserted, you know, world-class estimating and scheduling resource to get the next kind of series of projects on the right footing. So they're the kind of things we've been doing in the short term, because of course the framework that Catherine talked about is in the final stages of development. You can't write that overnight. As we now move into implementation phase of the new framework, then step by step we're going to be knocking off, you know, incremental milestones in terms of you know, driving the efficiencies as implementation of new systems, helping team sizes reduce because of the efficiencies, etc. So, but that's probably best if I let Catherine talk in a bit more detail in that space.
Yeah,
because she's all over the benefits.
Thank you. So all of the benefits, and we started off. So when we started to write our business case, Mark and I, nearly 18 months ago, the first thing we did was benchmark. And James has talked a little bit about how we brought delivery partner in to do that, and we did that as an independent benchmark. So it wasn't us Babcock marking our own homework. We got an independent review of that to give us an overall score. We'll go back and revisit that in March 23 to see where our score has got to, and very focused to getting to that level 3. But what we're doing in between then, so we're writing the framework, and we're about to go and progressively roll that out across the business by taking it's about 14 of our major projects over the next 2 years, where we will bring our central team together, a bit like a tiger team, to come and work alongside that project to help them adopt and embed these new ways of working. And as we work with each team, we'll do a desktop exercise to measure their current maturity before we start, and then when we leave, and then we'll repeat that overall independent exercise at the end of the 3 years. As I said, also we're continuing to measure different metrics in terms of benefits. So we're tracking the number of people we're getting through the qualifications and training. We're tracking the sizes of project teams to make sure that they reflect industry norms. We're tracking the time it takes us to do report generation at the moment, and looking at how we improve that. So we're looking at all different metrics that we're influencing and measuring to show kind of a return on investment in terms of what we're investing in this programme.
Excellent. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Catherine. And thank you, all of you, for taking the time to answer the questions. I'm going to welcome Martin back. I'm conscious of time, but we've had a lot of thank yous coming through. You might have a fan here. Matthew from Dackstar has said, thank you very much for your time. It's been very educational. Bruce has just said, thanks guys, great show. So with that, I'll pass over to Martin to bring us to a close.
And my thanks again. It's really refreshing to see an organisation such as yourselves being so open and honest about where you are, where you're going, the journey you're on, and how you're going about that journey. It reminds me a lot of stuff I did in DNS about 12 years ago. So I can see the impact it's having, obviously, in our supply chain as well. I'm no longer work for DNS anyhow, but I did a lot of similar things, or attempted to do a lot of the similar things you're doing now. I think your level of maturity is progressing amazingly well. The integrated approach you're taking is just fantastic, because without people drive everything. People manage the process, people manage the tools, people manage everything else. You can't do anything without the people. So your focus on the people and the POET sort of an acronym is really fantastic. And I commend you for sort of taking that sort of integrated approach on that. And I wish you all the very success. And it's fantastic to see sort of Elsie and Emily and their confidence, and as a visible benefit you've had already in actually taking your sort of young project management stars of the future on. And you're quite right, diversity is fantastic. The challenge you have in some of your sort of geographic locations is driving this, but you have some fantastic benefits coming out of that. You have such a wide, diverse range of people coming together, sharing their experiences and actually applying that into your business, and that will prove sort of absolutely fantastic for you over the next few years. I wish you all the best on your journey to level 3. It's not easy. Level 4 and level 5 are even more difficult after that, but you have your eyes very firmly on the prize of that. So thank you very, very much indeed for being so open, honest, and frank, particularly your sort of answers to the questions that have been put to you. It's absolutely fantastic, and thank you very much indeed, and enjoy. We certainly have enjoyed this evening. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks all.